right, I guess let's start. Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the talk. And today is going to be a very hands-on workshop, and it's going to be a workshop talking about how you can build on top of Celer and make your game a eSport game to monetize using the Celer game SDK. So, first, a quick introduction about Celer network. By the way, I'm Mo from Celer. Celer is this layer 2 construct that accelerates blockchain. It doesn't only accelerate the blockchain payment transactions, but also accelerate any kind of generalized smart contract transactions. The underlying technology it uses is called generalized state channel, and the generalized state channel is extremely suitable for the application scenario where there are a lot of interactions between participating parties, like frequent payments, pay-per-use services, and pay-per-use use cases, and also this kind of interactive games, like a chess game, like a Gomco game, like any kind of board game, or any kind of interactive game that involves eSport to have people coming back and forth at each other. So, the Celer network architecture in general contains two parts. One is the technology construct called C-stack, consisting of the C channel, which is the lowest state channel construct. It has all the state channel specification, and we have open source all the smart contracts involved in this. Feel free to check out our GitHub. And then on top of that is the multi-node routing problem, which solves a very, very critical problem in the layer 2 network to route payment efficiently without actually causing a lot of congestion in the network and using up all the liquidity stored in the network. And then on top of that is the SDK layer, what we call COS. And on top of the COS, which is the topic of today's talk, which is the Celer X gaming SDK. So think about this way. The Celer X gaming SDK that I'm going to introduce to you guys today is a wrapper around the underlying Celer SDK. So there are actually a lot more functionality you can realize in the underlying Celer SDK, but I'm just omitting them for now. And then there's another whole stack which I'm going to in part omitting in this talk, which is talking about the economics aspect of Celer network. That is how a off-chain state is actually secured in the network. So we recently launched our mainnet alpha, and in the mainnet alpha we launched essentially three things. One is called Celer X, which is a user-facing application, which is specifically targeted in a small, very specific niche that is eSport real-money game. And then we also launched towards common game developers, non-blockchain gaming developers, something called Celer X Gaming SDK. And this is targeted for the normal game developer to launch their game on blockchain without any kind of blockchain experience, with only 2 lines of code. Which is the stuff that we're going to talk about today. And then the Celer Web SDK, which is going to be replaced very soon by a Celer Web 3 client. Right now, the Celer Web 3 SDK runs as, if you run a client locally, which is a Go client, then you can connect the JavaScript SDK to this Go client using our PCH service. We're very soon going to change that format into a native, into a pure JavaScript SDK or pure JavaScript client connecting to the Celer network. So, what is Celer X? Just like a kind of a quick intro or a quick demo. This is what Celer X looks like. You can download this application at celerx.app. And you can play with your friend or play match with anyone in the world with these games. Like it can be a single player game where high score wins, or it can be this interactive game like a board game. This game is like an ancient China board game called Connect 5 or Gomco. And in the end of the game, what happens is that whoever wins the game will get the other guy's entry fee essentially. So what happened underlying is that there is a off-chain conditional payment paid towards each other, towards the two opponents in the beginning of the game. And whoever actually wins the game will finally get resolved into the correct condition, or the conditional payment. One will get resolved at 2, and one will get resolved at 4. So this is like how Celer network works in general. It enables the functionality to enable conditional payment, off-chain conditional payment. So through this entire process, you see no delay, no transaction cost, no kind of any blockchain slowness. That is because we are all running this part on the layer 2 construct, which is a very important scaling aspect. of the network. So these are like old data in 7 days. We have been running this for about 8 months. So right now we have processed $1.4 million prices in total. For about 11K players playing about 300K matches from 88 different countries. This stuff is actually being used. We're probably one of the most frequently used e-apps around the world. And many of the users in the application are not actually crypto users. They previously don't have the cryptocurrency experiences. We try to make the onboarding experience and also the gaming experience so familiar to them that they cannot distinguish whether they're using a blockchain application or they're not. So these are the users' distribution. So these are some of the testimonials we received from the users. One word to sum it up. The user experience is very similar to native, but there are also a lot of challenges we see and a lot of lessons learned. And this is stuff I'm going to talk about, in today afternoon's talk. That is a lesson learned when we're actually operating this non-custodian and decentralized layer 2 network. Okay, now let's start. Okay, so the immediate question to build is I showed these two games. Can we all build some game using Celer X and run on Celer X or run as a standalone title? Do I need to understand Celer's technology? Do I need to handle off-chain payments? Do I need to instantiate an off-chain client? Do I need to open a channel? Do I need to write a lot of smart contracts, manage users' private key, and so on and so forth? We got asked this question a lot, and the answer to all of those questions are very simple. No, you don't need any of them. So what you need is actually just any HTML5 game out there, any HTML5, you just pull it from the GitHub and add 2 lines of code, and there's 0 blockchain experience needed, and then developer can build on top of Celer and start to integrate their game into a fully decentralized, a fully blockchainized, esport competition game. So how does that work? By the way, we're actually offering a $1,000 bounty for a Safe Gamer Award, and also will become featured in the application with about tens of thousands of users. If you actually submit your game in the East Boston hackathon, we'll feature that as East Boston special kind of a feature in the first front page of the application. So, now we enter the hands-on part of this workshop. Okay. So if you have your laptop, feel free to go to this part, Celer network, and there is some example called Celer X example Go Celer, and this is an extremely simple HTML5 game. Let me show you what this is. I think I actually opened it here. Oh no. So yeah, just do a very simple npm start, and we have the game. Yes. All right. So anyone recognize this game? By the way, we just kind of adopted this dinosaur jumping game where when your prompt dies, you can play this dinosaur jumping game to kill time, which is replace this to our small mascot here. So this is just an extremely simple app, and you have the final score of 42. So how can we change this non-blockchain, actually zero blockchain touched HTML5 into a Celer-based game? Well, extremely simple. Let me show you how. So to change it to, by the way, the developer doc is here, developer.celerx.app. You can always refer to the developer doc here. And you just look at the document section. And this is a kind of a solo game, which is the most simple way to integrate Celer. That is, you have a solo game that is playing for sport. And there are a couple APIs here where there's a celerx.start, which actually triggers all the starting logic of matching of the cryptocurrency payment and every logic underlying to actually set the stage for the game. And then you have celerx.getMatch will get you some of the basic matching information. One question you guys might immediately ask is that, okay, you are playing with real cryptocurrency, which basically equivalent to money. Is this stuff even legal? Are we actually touching on the gambling space? Well, no. So there's actually a very distinct difference between gambling and skill-based game in the United States and also in 180 different countries. So in 39 different states, if your game meets certain qualifications, I'm not providing legal opinion, but like we will review the games, for predominant test case, then your game is entirely legal. So for example, for the fish jumping game you just saw, the only requirement is that if two people are actually competing against each other, as long as the sequence of different cats and speed they are seeing is the same. Basically, they are seeing the same game, they're playing the same kind of game, or using the same first hand, in any kind of a, let's say, card game. If they're having the same starting stage and with the same kind of random sequence number generators along the game, then this stuff is 100% legal. So, what this function is here is trying to do, one of the functionality is to get you the shared random seed. So we are actually implementing this in a pretty advanced way. That is, this shared random seed is not generated by a server, but actually generated by message exchanging between the two opponents with the commit and review process. Like basically, you kind of mix these two committed hash together, and then later review them to kind of generate the true randomness on the client side. So there's no one can actually cheat the initial randomness of the game, including the server at all. So, and once you have that shared random seed, you just kind of use that as your randomness source. And then, in the end of the game, you just do a submit score. So that's kind of like the main API here. Is there anything else? No, that's it. There's literally like maybe 2 lines of code. So, how do we actually integrate this? Let's say, in the beginning of the game, this function just gets called, like reset game. It's basically resetting the state, resetting every canvas, and the HTML5 canvas. And what we need to do here is to just kind of get the match, and also like from the match, you kind of use this global seeding function to just seed this entire randomness process. Okay. And then in the end, what's going to happen is, there's in the end of the game, what happens is that you just send a score in here. Like basically for whatever score that this guy won, you just submit a score here in the game. This is it. That's the whole process of integrating Celer into your HTML5 game. Now, I know there might be also another immediate question jumping out here. That is, okay, what about cheating? It seems that this function is very straightforward. That anyone can just call this function and just kind of hack the stuff and submit whatever score it is. So this is the part that we kind of go beyond just the blockchain, but actually also have a pretty intelligent matching engine to kind of generate the distribution of scores of a game. So if there is actually an outlier in the distribution, we pick that out and we put that in a separate bucket. Basically, we'll only let the bots match against each other. So we actually already see this in some of our games. Someone is trying to build a bot, not necessarily just directly by hacking the game, because the game itself also has authentication. The HTML5 process, the HTML5 game also runs inside of a application, and this submit score is not just a JavaScript call. It actually goes through application authentication process. But even with that, someone is trying to build a bot to kind of really automatically play the game. To weed that out, we actually quickly single out these guys and then just let them match with each other. So we kind of having different level of matching with different tier of capabilities, so people can all enjoy the game. So if you build a game, now, there's actually a very fair ground for users to play. Now, the immediate thing also to ask is that, it's very easy to integrate, but like, what's it in for the developers? So in Celer, we're trying to create a sustainable developer ecosystem here to generate a sustainable monetization for the developers. So starting from the end of October, we are starting to charge in the transaction process, and the charges will go to the developer who submitted the game. So basically, if there are more people playing the game, let's say 2 people are both putting in $1, the winner will only get $1.6. Where are the 40 cents? Those 40 cents goes to the developer directly. So that's kind of like the incentive we build up for the developer. And it also has been working very well that we have right now, let me see, we have about 153 games submitted through our developer portal that people are actually submitting game. And we have the pipeline for about 20 games that is coming up that's going to be released using the same kind of model. Now, so the integration is not the end. Like basically the next question is that, okay, I have written this part of the code, then how can I run this stuff actually in the Celer X application, right? So this is like the Celer X application, how can I run that stuff? So we actually built an extremely easy to use sandbox environment for the developers. So this is just a sandbox environment. You can register your account at portal.celerx.app and then create your own game. You can just go through this creation process, give your game a name, description, and choose the device orientation. Let's say you want to choose landscape because we're doing this kind of dinosaur game. And you can choose a different color of anything, and you can choose between solo game, high score win, low score win, and also a entirely different class of game called turn-based game, which actually use generalized state channel contract, which I haven't actually touched on. I will briefly touch on that. And if you enable smart contract, it will actually allow you to connect to the generalized state channel construct, which is the advanced part or even more decentralized part of the Celer X game SDK. Specify some parameter and just click create. Now, what happens if you click the create is you are gonna see something like that. So, after you create the game, you can upload the application asset, just package up the code, the JavaScript code you just have, and upload it here. And then what you can do is you can just immediately start testing the game. I actually don't have the internet here. Let's see. Do any of you happen to have Celer X and also internet? Let's see if I can get service here. All right, so the gist of the idea is that in Celer X, there is this kind of a magnifier button, and you can click on this magnifier button to scan this QR code, and immediately you will be able to test it on your phone directly, by trying out the competition with your friend. So in this whole process, there's literally no part of the process that you need to interact with the blockchain, and also you need to kind of send payment or do anything like that. The entire process is just kind of entirely automated and hidden away from this developer experience. So it's actually extremely easy to use. If you download some open source game with the right license and maybe build your own very interesting brain teaser game, and submit it at the portal.celerx.app, and just shoot us an email at developer@celer.network or ask any question in the Discord. We're giving out a Seed Gamer Award of $1,000, probably one of the easiest bounty in this entire hackathon. But also pretty fun, and also have monetization features that we're gonna support in the future. So, and also we'll release the game as kind of a feature game from the esports hackathon in the Celer users. So another more advanced example is that for those who are in blockchain community, you guys probably know about this game already because we have been using this everywhere to demonstrate the capability of something called generalized state channel. And generalized state channel is a construct where you can put this entire game into a off-chain smart contract, and this makes every interaction a fully decentralized interaction for the game. Now, we have open sourced the entire game of this, and you can reproduce this entire process of creating this game by looking at these 4 repos. This repo, the first repo, CApp is in our GitHub, is the generalized state channel smart contract template, and also an example which is basically this particular example. And you can adopt this example and adopt the template to build any kind of generalized SDA channel contract. And then you have the Celer X example, Gomoko, which is the HTML5 part of the front end. This part demonstrates you how to connect the front end to the back end of a generalized SDA channel. And then, we also have the Celer X SDK, the Celer X JavaScript SDK, open source. And you can see how we actually utilize the underlying capability of the Celer SDK to build the Celer X SDK, which is a gaming-specific SDK. And finally, with all these combined, you can just, again, submit the code to the portal and test the application on the developer portal. So, I extensively talked about the Celer X SDK, but we also have a web SDK today that makes the Celer network itself an open platform and extremely easy to build. You can build financial derivative market on it, non-custodial cryptocurrency exchanges, and very importantly, micropayment services of any kind. So one specific primitive that I want to bring up is something called off-chain conditional payment. That is, through the Celer network, if you are familiar with Lightning can do off-chain payment with extremely low cost across the entire Lightning network. But the payment is very simple. It's basically just get paid. But in Celer, what you can do is you can send an off-chain payment across the network, but the off-chain payment is not a result. It's more like you just committed this payment, but that payment may depend on a condition on the blockchain, a verifiable condition on the blockchain. What is a verifiable condition? It can be an Oracle's output, and you can connect this with Chainlink's Oracle to say that, okay, I'm sending you an off-chain conditional payment, conditionally depending on whether tomorrow rains or not. And it can create this kind of a friendly social web applications. It can also create very interesting stuff like a kind of a peer-to-peer derivative market that you're kind of just sending each other conditional payment. And these kind of conditional payment, as long as they can cancel each other, we will automatically merge them together to save liquidity in the network. So this is this is a very, very cool building block, and we have already seen a lot of interesting use cases built around this, like usage-based car insurance, peer-to-peer electricity metering payment system, and peer-to-peer social banking, very fine-grained metering hosting services with some certain sort of SLA guarantees. This example is basically saying that you're paying a hosting service, and the hosting service is Oracle. There's an Oracle to testify the hosting services availability. You're sending out micropayments of conditional payment based on the availability of the service. If the service is not available for a certain period of time, the Oracle flips. Even though you're still kind of sending the payment is actually going to be automatically resolved to false, and you're actually not actually sending the payment to the hosting services. And many other examples like these. So with that, I think I'm right on time for the talk, and you're very welcome to use our SDK, and I'll be around in the hackathon, and also I'm also going to be on Discord to support you guys. So with that, any questions that I can answer? Yeah.
Can you talk really quick more about the web part of Celer and how does that get set up?
So today, the web part of the Celer looks like this. So okay, maybe this is better. This is better way to show it. If you go to Celer network, and there is a developer section, and if you click Celer SDK, which is now Celer X SDK, and you'll find the web SDK and also a client library. How that works today is we make this client as kind of a local client because the entire back-end technical stack is built around Go, so it compiles a Go client. And the Go client exposes an RPC service for the JavaScript clients to talk to this Go client. So to use a Celer in a web environment today, you need to run a Go client and let the web interface talk to this Go client. So it's almost somewhat like the the older node, if you may. But we are releasing a pure web client, very soon, end of this month, end of Q3. And that web client itself is going to be a standalone client that solely lives inside of the web environment and talk to any kind of Web3 interfaces. Things like Trust Wallet, things like all the other kind of wallet providers can directly use that unless there's like the right permission to use that, basically. So yeah.
Thank you.
Can you go back to the slide that had the four, that was a quadrant of monetization options?
Which part? Going down. Yep, this part?
Yes.
Okay.
One more, I think there was one more slide.
Yep.
Keep going down. There's the four options for monetization, whether or not it was peer-to-peer, game-to-game. I guess my question was, is that, for example, with the dinosaur game, you could change the icon for the dinosaur. Is there a way to, I guess, monetize the icon if you had various types of icons?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. This is something that we also are talking with some other game developers. That is like integrating micropayments into kind of a collectible buying process.
Yes.
It's definitely possible. You can like say that, in the game there's also an option if you spend this 10 cents, which is like a very small money. If you send it on the blockchain, it's going to be like insanely expensive. But if you just spend it here, you will be able to give you this kind of collateral, and that's a perfect use case for off-chain conditional payment. If you think about it, it's something like, okay, I'm going to pay you 10 cents, but that is not going to be immediately resolved. That is going to conditionally depend on the ownership of that collateral. And let's say I pay 20 cents, and the collectible's ownership actually changed to me only when that happens. The off-chain conditional payment actually goes through. So that is actually a perfect use case to kind of have how should I say this, like almost like an atomic swap of off-chain payment and also the collectible exchange. Yeah, definitely possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just add a question about your bounty. So your bounty is mainly towards the gaming SDK for HTML5 that goes on your Celer app, right? Not for the standalone web.
Well, so you're definitely feel free to build it using standalone web, and we'll kind of also evaluate them selective. This is like more towards kind of a general one. This is literally the first time that we're trying to test out the gaming SDK, and that's why we set up the one this way. But feel free to build using the native web SDK, especially using this kind of generalized off-chain conditional payment functionality. Yeah. Any other questions?
One more. I know you
Yeah.
said you were going to be here today. Do you have a plan on leaving? What time do you plan on leaving?
I'm going to just be here, like, generally the entire day. And, I have a talk also scheduled this afternoon to talk about, like, the operational aspect of the Day channel. But yeah, I'm just going to be generally here. And also we have Discord channel, and this email directly goes to the entire developer group's email, including mine. So yeah, if you have any questions, just shoot out the email or join the Discord channel. There are going to be our team is always watching the developer Discord group.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Oh yeah. All right. Okay. I guess that's it. Thank you all for coming.